me and the boys went to Japan. This was my first time in Japan ever since I left it back in 17 it would have been, a good few years after all of those things happened. And it has changed quite a bit in the time that I've been gone. Quite a lot indeed. So cool, thank you very much for the Ike Super. It's changed quite a lot. So much more that, honestly, I think the biggest thing that I would... There are two big things about Japan that I really want to remark on that I so much enjoyed and found interesting. Number one, obviously, is the food. And I'll go on about that for hours. I could talk about the food for ages. And I think I did last time I streamed privately to you. But the first thing that I want to say is the culture shock. Japan is a different place than the UK, and getting used to that was difficult. And I think it's not that getting used to Japan was difficult, it's that reminding myself that I'm not in Japan anymore after having come home. That's the difficult part. Because people treat things differently in Japan than they do in the UK. And all of us are respectful of that. But then when you come back to the UK and you realize that people act in a completely different way, I'm still in Japan mode. Basically. Like, I've come back to the UK, and every time I go out, I'm like, shit, I'm not wearing my mask. Even though in the UK, wearing a mask is purely a choice, and most people in this country don't anymore. You know, it was only a requirement during, like, the thickest period during lockdown, and now it's pretty much practiced by nobody. And yet now that I've been in Japan for a little while, I am, like, actively like, oh, where's my mask? Wait a minute, I'm good. You know, it feels missing whenever I go outside. And another thing is that in the UK, we don't tend to bow very often. You know, you might do if someone bows to you, like, to show respect, but, like, it's not really normal. The most you'll do is sort of, you know, if you're walking past someone in the street, you might nod or something like that. But bowing, we don't do that in the UK. And so I've had to, like, physically restrain myself. I've had to physically restrain myself every time that I walk past a person, every time that I communicate with someone in a shop, every time that I see concierge when I walk back into my apartment. I have to stop myself from going,